about you being gone is I can watch the game all day long, and I can stretch my legs out in the bed, extra pillow underneath my head. I don't know why nobody ever told me about the upside of lonely. I got a lot more room for my stuff, and I only have to wash one cup. I can stay up late and play my guitar, and the groceries go twice as far. I don't know why nobody ever told me about the upside of lonely. Your girlfriends ain't ringing the phone off the wall. I never have to hear from that mother-in-law. Ain't cut the grass since the middle of June. I smoke a big cigar up in my living room. Don't know why nobody ever told me about the upside of lonely. Clothes right on the floor. Let the trash pile up right by the door. Eat pizza and ice cream 3 times a day, 'cause I ain't worried about watching my weight. I don't know why nobody ever told me about the upside of lonely. Yeah, man, just think about all the good things about you being gone. Stretch out here at home. Hey, man, come on in. Don't mind the muddy shoes on the white carpet. She ain't here. You hungry? Hey, man, I got some food if you want to eat. I got a microwave oven with little pictures on the front of it. Just pick what you want to eat and push the button, and it will cook it for you. Yeah, man, you can smoke that cigar up here in the kitchen. Just use that vase over there. Need something to drink? We got beer, bourbon, whiskey, scotch, Diet Coke, Fanta. Yeah, man, I bet you've been on the road for a minute. Bathroom's right down the hall. Switches on the left, doors on the right. Just remember to leave the lid up. Leave it up. Welcome to Wednesday night Facebook Live with yours truly, Brian Nova. Really want to welcome you all here. Thank you for joining us today. We've got a fantastic show for you.
We're going to have the one and only Stephanie Porter, Steve YUSEN, and the great FRED RADKE joining us again here in just a little bit. And of course, we'll have some special appearances, of course, by Ellington, our wonderful our wonderful puppy here. Anyway, hope you guys are well. Thank you again for tuning in. And our first tune today is one of my favorites, 1939, called Every Time It Rains, It Rains. Lots of pennies from heaven. Don't you know each cloud contains lots of pennies from heaven? You'll find your fortunes falling all over the town. Be sure that your umbrella is upside down. Trade them for a package of sunshine and flowers. If you want the things you love, you must have showers. So when you hear it thunder, don't run under a tree. There'll be pennies from heaven for you and me. Every time it rains, it's gonna rain. Lots of pennies from heaven. Don't you know? Every cloud contains lots of pennies from heaven. You'll find your fortunes falling all over the town. Be sure that your umbrella is upside down. Trade them for a package of sunshine and flowers. If you want the things you love, you must have showers. So when you hear it thunder, don't run under a tree. There'll be pennies from heaven. There'll be pennies from heaven. There'll be pennies from heaven for you and me. Pennies from heaven, folks. Oh my goodness, if we could only get more of those pennies from heaven. So, what's going on this week? Well, I can tell you a couple things. First and foremost, make sure you log on and subscribe to our YouTube channel because starting hopefully next week, we will be going both to YouTube and Facebook Live at the same time as we start to make our changes around here. Also, we will still be going live from Facebook, but we're going to try to do from both platforms, Facebook and YouTube, starting next week. Also, check out over here, we have our PayPal. We can always use a helping hand here at Vivify Music Studios down here in the desert. It's never expected, but very, very much appreciated. And you check that out by just going to this little link right here at paypal.me/BrianNovaMusic. Also, what do we got to talk about? We want to say hi to everybody out there in jazz, guitar, and cigar land. All of our pals up there in the Great Northwest, especially in places like the Churchill Room, all our pals at the Churchill Room. Thanks for tuning in there. And Ron Rogers and the gang are up there. Good to hear from you guys. Also, our pals over at the Vertigo Club. It's really wonderful, wonderful to hear from you guys as well. Also, our friends at the U Club in San Francisco, Telford's in San Francisco, and of course down here in the desert, Palm Desert Tobacco, and Mirage Cigar Lounge. Thank you guys for tuning in. Also, good to hear from you, Deb. Glad to have some folks from Seattle tuning in to us here. I also want to give a big shout out there to all of our pals that are suffering right now with all the forest fires, especially our pals up in the North Bay, the Napa, and Sonoma area. Our dear pal, I know, Ted Hall and Dave Miner, those guys are struggling right now. They're trying to put out some fires, and their son Chris is one of the first responders up there too as well. So Chris, we wish you the best. Sending you guys lots of prayers and lots of love, and a big, big, big virtual hug to all the first responders up there. Thank you so much for everything you're doing to trying to keep us safe and keeping from us, so many people up there losing their lives. I also want to give another shout out there too. Folks here in Southern California too that are fighting many fights as well. We've got a smaller fire over here, but a fire nonetheless, not too far from Palm Springs or in the Rancho Mirage area. So thank you so much for our Southern Cal firefighters as well. With all that said, I'm going to do a tune that I haven't done for many years. This is one of my favorite tunes written by Irving Berlin. And it's usually done as kind of a really pretty ballad. But in the 60s, Sinatra and the great composer Antonio Carlos Jobim did a record together, and they did a version of it like this, sort of like a bossa. Must you dance every dance with the same fortunate man you have danced with him since the music began? Won't you change partners and dance with me? Must you dance quite so close, with your lips touching his face? Can't you see that I'm longing to be in his place? Won't you change partners and dance with me? Ask him to sit this one out, and while you're alone, I'll tell the waiter to tell him he's wanted on the telephone. You've been locked in his arms ever
ever since heaven knows when. Won't you change partners and then you may never want to change partners again. Ask him to sit this one out, and when you're alone, I'll tell him to ask the waiter to tell him he's wanted on the telephone. You've been locked in his arms ever since heaven knows when. Won't you change partners and then you may never want to change partners again. Won't you change partners and then you may never want to change partners again. Beautiful tune by the great Irving Berlin, Change Partners. Well, listen, I think it's about time to probably get the show on the road here. We have a plethora of talent for you today. And we're going to start with our very first guest coming on here. And we'd like to start with a video first. We did a video this week with Steph and Steven. And, of course, the wonderful Terry Miller joining us on the bass. Terry, thank you so much. And we did a beautiful version of another Irving Berlin tune called Cheek to Cheek. So why don't you check it out? Here we go, Steph. 2, 3, 4.
Dancing
was Stephanie Porter with Steve YUSEN on the drums and the ubiquitous Terry Miller on the bass, doing Irving Berlin's Cheek to Cheek, swinging like nobody's business. So we're going to bring him in here to the conversation here. Steph and Steve, you guys there?
Yeah.
There they are.
Hey, man.
Good to see you guys.
What up?
Can we, man, we're doing great. Doing great. So you guys, it's great to have you on the show. What's been kicking with you guys?
Oh,
Stephanie?
man. Never enough, quarantine.
Never enough. I can
I've
believe
been,
it.
you told me to practice chords on the piano, so I think that's what I'm going to become a piano player now that singers spread the plague.
That a girl. Yeah, that's good. I'm telling you, anybody that can learn any kind of a skill while they're here in the middle of the pandemic, I think wins. That's how I see it.
Yeah, you got to keep in the music, it's so
Anything.
hard. It's so sad, it's like us, there's nowhere to go hear anybody.
Now, didn't you guys tell me you did some stuff like out in the front yard, or you had some neighborhood concerts going on?
We did. A neighbor asked us if we would get out there and do a little music, and I thought it would be just the folks on the block, but it ended up being quite a few people from the neighborhood. They all socially, distanced.
Mm-hmm.
It was safe. We had Joe Doria.
Great organ player. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was so much fun. Like the people, I was, kind of feeling like I was doing it for myself in a way. Like I was going, oh, this is gonna be great. I get to sing, and then all these people kept coming up and saying how much joy it brought them, and just getting to hear music and see live music, and it was so touching. It became something else where I got to do more of this. I have to figure out a way before the weather changes in the Seattle area.
Well,
fast.
it does. But that's probably one of the biggest issues we're all facing as artists is that we could practice, we could do this, what we're doing, talking every now and then, but it is so hard to not have that. We're so used to that connection with our audience, our ability to literally reach out and touch somebody. We don't have that right now, and I know it's killing me. You guys must be dying up there as well.
Yeah, it's something else.
Another thing that was really special, my mom passed away at the end of August, and she was in the window in her hospital bed and was able to see a concert, and she enjoyed it. She was really lucid, all the way pretty well to the end, but she had a bit of dementia, going on. She remembered that concert. She kept bringing it up and talking about the organ, and just, it really, she grew up around music, and it meant, so much to her too. And then that too was like a memory I'll always have.
Well, and you come from a hugely musical family too, as well.
Yeah, she really did. Her brothers and her sister were working professionals in the music, full time. They were teaching and repairing instruments, but also playing with the symphony. Or I have a cousin that
running the union,
making
right?
Violins and Sal Caraba. And
I
Sal
remember
Keith
Uncle
and
Sal.
Lucy. And they were amazing. It was a great way to grow up, Italian dinners and a jam session to boot,
God, yeah, I couldn't think of anything
Take
better.
it for granted.
Hey, how about you, Stephen? What was your early days in music like? I know you've played with everybody from Harry James and from the Harry James Orchestra all the way to some of the Steppenwolf, or one of those rock bands you used to play with.
Yeah, well, I did a lot of playing with, I'm sure everybody remembers Herman's Hermits. I did a lot of playing with Peter Noon and Leslie Gore and guys from Steppenwolf, all kinds of R&B bands. And then Fred hired me on at the Olympic Hotel, and I started playing. And Butch Nordahl was on the gig, and he told me the first night I played, he said, the next thing you know, it'll be 6 years you've been here.
Wow.
On the 6th year, I said, Butch, remember you mentioned that to me? And he laughed. And I ended up playing with Fred there 10 years.
I know you
And-
guys had that was the
Yeah.
gig.
Yeah,
Such an elegant gig. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a good
and
one.
Stephanie would come down every now and then, and I didn't really know her, but she would come down and sing, and Gina let her sing a tune, and I know you came down and hung out, and then we would all
Many
convene.
times.
Remember Salutes and
Oh, how I do. Yes, of course.
Primo playing piano in the
Primo
Yeah.
in the lounge playing piano out there. Yeah.
Michael Vizzoni there, bartending, and it was a scene. It was Marytown Smith hanging out, and
Well, we've got your old boss Fred Radke coming on right after you guys.
Oh, right.
I heard about that. Yeah, Fred.
Yeah. Fred's going to be on here just a little bit, so you guys will have to tune in, and
He's doing-
maybe you could call in you, and we could do a 4-way with Fred.
I can't.
Dangerous. It's dangerous.
That's very dangerous.
Watch.
But Brian, shout out, of course, to you, Brian. Playing with you has been, a great thrill for all these years. From going
Here's
to
your
Japan,
$5.
and, all the
I
opportunities.
know, man. We need you back here. You were the one who opened up all these joints. You were the one who would put all the lighting in, the stages, make them credible. You were like, we could do a gig here. I'm gonna make this work.
I needed
have,
all the help I could get,
some
for
wood
sure.
and a saw and
Yeah.
a guitar.
I was going to say, working with Stephanie, all these years has been, just fantastic, and a couple records and, albums, and so it's things are good. Just practicing a lot
Great.
at home, which, and
Well, speaking of practicing, why don't we play this other video? It is a beautiful rendition of a George and Ira Gershwin tune in ballad form called "Embraceable You." Give it a listen. Here we go. 3, 4.
Embrace me, my sweet embraceable you. Embrace me, you irreplaceable you. Just one look at you. My heart grew tipsy in me.
go. All right. Beautiful job, you guys. Beautiful job. Embraceable you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank-
It's fun. This is the new way to gig. I don't even have to leave the
I'm
living
telling
room.
Got to do what you got to do.
I could sit in my underwear and do a gig. It's great.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Steve.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I just wanted to tell you guys that Norris and Ellen send their best.
Oh, man.
Hello.
Go
Good to see
Hawks.
Norris and Ellen, and of course Mary and Marianne and Carl from Lakedale Resort. They're up there.
Oh my
Thank
God.
you guys.
Hey, man, miss you. Missed you this year.
Yeah, we missed Lakedale. I can't believe it that we would have been there a month ago. I can't believe it for our jazz fest up there. So we're
Yeah,
planning on it
it's
next
not
year.
the
We're
same.
planning on it. We're moving forward. We're not going to let 2020 get in the way. 2021 is going to be our year, folks. I can tell you.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you, Deb, also for those great highs. And big shout out there to my man, Brett May. Brett. By the way, Brett, I got to call you. I've got work stuff. We got a video we got to do together. So pull out your sax and start warming up. Hey, listen, I wanted to ask you guys something really quick before we go. Is what's next? You guys got a new? I know, Steph, do you have anything on the radio coming up, or any projects that you're working on?
Oh my gosh, I'm just really just trying to learn new songs and try really the piano. I'm like, I don't even know how you guys learn an instrument. It's cruel. It makes me feel stupid.
All I can tell you is
And
that
now
we
I'm
felt the
addicted
same way
to it.
when we started, for sure.
I'm
Well,
addicted
absolutely.
to it. It's like I'm like, I'm sure I have it now, and I'll go down and I'm like, I don't. And then I have my little ahas, but that's where it's at right now. I'm thinking about things, but I haven't made any moves yet.
That's all right. That's all right. As long as you're thinking about them, that's what counts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just we're gonna have to keep on keeping on, and just keep practicing and playing, and one of these days we'll all bust out, man.
I agree. Well, listen, you guys, I can't thank you enough for joining me today and for taking the time out to do those wonderful, beautiful recordings. And we'll be in touch.
Oh,
Hello,
thank
Sony.
you.
Hi,
Good to
Sony.
see you.
Steph, see you guys. See you, Stevie. All right. What fun. Also, folks, Steph does have some CDs out with Steven, and you can check those out at CD Baby or Amazon.com or on iTunes. Steph and them, they have their records all over the place on the internet. So make sure you check it out. And these videos that you hear, by the way, they will be up on YouTube later in the week that you can actually check out. So my next guest needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. He is the leader of the Harry James Orchestra. He is one of the top trumpeters in the country and one of the top educators in the country. I think that's one thing that people forget about, that Fred's been teaching big bands and ensembles the art of jazz for over 40 years. And he ran the North Seattle Community College program, I think, close to 40 years. And now he's over at the University of Washington doing the same thing. And it is just it's a thrill to have him. And he's one of my mentors and heroes. I got to grow up listening to Fred play when I was a youngster in Seattle. And he taught me a lot. So it's really a treat to have him here on the show. So let's bring on Fred real quickly here. You there, Frederico?
I am, sir.
Man, it's so good to have you here on the show.
Good, thank you. Yeah, I have to commend you for doing this every week, man. It's really, it's a very entertaining program that you're doing for everybody, and bringing a bunch of guys that we all know close, that are in our little cliche, I guess, or clique.
Yeah.
And it's fun to have everybody together, man. That's kind of cool for you to do this. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I tell you, it's a very selfish thing on my part because I miss you guys.
Yeah, miss everybody, man.
Hey, listen, I've got some videos. Let's start off with the video here real quick. So the first video I've got is Fred with myself, Terry Miller on the bass, and the one and only Andy Fraggett Jr. on the drums playing It Is You or No One. So give it a listen. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
No, it's great.
Man,
to find
that
a good
is
tailor.
great there, Fred. Wonderful. It's You or No One. Swinging, man.
Yeah, that's a great tune from. I learned that when I was a kid from Dexter Gordon and Freddie Hubbard. Doing
yeah.
All Right album.
Doing all right.
One of your favorite albums, I know.
It is. It is very much
Yeah,
so.
it's one of
So
my
tell me
favorites,
about it
yeah.
when you were starting out. You started out in the Bay Area, right? East Bay boy, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Oakland, California, and
Wow.
born and raised. And I started. I saw Harry James play on television one night, and that's what I decided that I wanted to do, be a trumpet player. And then my mother and father joined me in an organization in Oakland called the Weldonians, which was a very famous marching band and musical organization. And it was a great experience. I went through the whole ranks of that, learned a lot from Weldon Leonardson and my teachers there. And then the main thing that really turns people on, young people on, is a good school teacher that really takes you under his wing. And from junior high school, and when we got into high school, man, we had the greatest teacher, Jewel Lord, who was just really inspirational. Oh, wow. And of course, as you mentioned earlier, Mike Vax and I, Mike, of course, is of the Stan Kenton fame and has the Stan Kenton Alumni Orchestra. We grew up together and we were in high school together, and that teacher just turned us on. In fact, out of that jazz band, I think out of 18 guys, 13, 14 of us made it in music, made that our living in music. So that shows you, how important education is to turn kids on to continue on with their musical endeavors, And at that time in San Francisco, I joined the union when I was 15 years old, and I started playing gigs. In fact, our dear friend George Elliott,
yes,
and our late friend Bill Naraki, they were on my very first professional gig when I was 15.
No kidding! Wow.
Yeah, and I never forgot. Every time we go somewhere to wear black tie. I wrote this one time on a thing about knockers that we call Bill Naraki. But I remember showing up with a clipped-on bow tie, and Naraki said, "Fred, if you're going to be a professional musician in San Francisco, you're going to learn how to tie your own bow tie."
No doubt.
And he opened up his trap case, and pulled out a bow tie and taught me how to tie my tie. And I'm going to tell you, to this day, whenever I tie a bow tie, I think of Bill Naraki.
Oh, that's a wonderful
and
story.
Who was a giant
Oh, absolutely.
drummer, and Greg Field's teacher, of course.
That's right, yeah.
Our friend, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Naraki, what a great...
Yeah, great cat, man, yeah. But then from there, I was working gigs. I went on the boats, American Present Lines, and for a year, played all over the Far East, came back, and was working in a nightclub in Hayward, California called Frenchies. It was an 8-piece band, and a group, we played Billy Eckstine and Frank Sinatra Jr. and Dorothy Dandridge and all these people. And a group came through that I absolutely was knocked out with, and they were called the Lancers. And they were a 4-man vocal group. And in Seattle, before you came to Seattle in the old days, the Lancers were like a headliner at Harrah's. They were a headliner in Vegas. They were with K-Star at one time. They did all kinds of TV, all kinds of motion picture theme songs, and they had hit records. And I thought, boy, this is how I'm going to get a chance to get to Nevada and meet Harry James so I can get on that band. And so I joined the Land. They asked me to go with them. I stayed with them off and on for 25 years. They were great guys. And they really gave me my real, start. And so I didn't realize when we got headlining at Harrah's in Tahoe, Harry was headlining Harrah's in Tahoe, but he was at Tahoe, we were in Reno, and we'd flip back and forth. So I never really got a chance.
You guys were in the same town at the same time.
But different places. But on the bill was like Louis Prima, the Lancers,
Wow.
Those kind of people. I mean, it was a great, great upbringing and great experience in music, being around all these great cats. And then finally, when the Lancers broke up, I went to Vegas for about 7 or 8 weeks, put in my union card, and I said, I really don't like this place. And I happened to make a call to a friend of mine who owned a yacht club that managed the yacht club at the Edmonds Yacht Club, and she says, it's funny you should call because I just fired the band. Do you want a job? Because she loved the Lancers. And so I came up here and I had David Coleman, I had Butch Nordall, and I had Lee Humes, bass player, and we got a year contract and we played there. And then that's when I met my wife, Gina. And one night, I met her actually. I met her at the Olympic Hotel. She had just left the Hungry Eye and the Johnny Carson show, and she was coming to. She was playing her hometown. She's from Seattle, Garfield High School, and I met her, and nothing happened. We didn't. She thought I was a complete idiot, and anyway, so then and so then. For some reason, her music director, Pete Blue, leaves to go to Nashville, and so she needs a music director. And she's working all over the place, symphonies and stuff. So he says, how about Fred Radke? He just moved here from she said, you mean the trumpet player with the Lancers? Why would I hire him? Well, I think you guys would get along. Well, needless to say, 55 years later, that we've been married, but we traveled to the Far East, and of course, Gina, and she's one of the great singing artists of all time. And when I came back, I happened to run into Joe Venuti, the famous violinist that you're aware of course. Mm-hmm. And Joe was our best man at our wedding, by the way. We were working, and we went to Spokane to play a truckers convention or something at the Ridpath Hotel. And as we're driving over, Joe's in the car with me. He says, you kids should get married. You're perfect. I know you both. You should really get married. So we elope, and we go to Coeur d'Alene and elope. And Joe Venuti's our best man. And in fact, if you want to hear a quick funny story, the minister happens to be, he's like, 100 years old, and he says, my wife usually plays the piano and sings, but she's got the flu, so we won't have any music. And I said, well, do you know who this is? This is Joe Venuti. So Joe Venuti sits down at the piano, which he's a great pianist, and he sits down and plays, and Gina sang at our own wedding.
Wow.
Okay. So
in
now
Coeur
we go
d'Alene.
back. Yeah, of course. I still have a free wedding cake at the bakery there. I'm gonna go over there and visit.
You need to go cash that in.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's still good. Anyway, so we come back and we go to the Vietnam War and all that stuff, and we went work for an agent and we made 2 or 3 trips over there to Southeast Asia, which was another experience. Came back and I run into Joe Venuti, and Joe says, well, he says, Fred, I said, what are you doing? He says, well, I'm opening with Phil Harris in Vegas with Harry James. Oh, wow. And Joe says, have you ever worked with Harry? And I said, no, but my goal was to always play first trumpet for Harry James. And of course, now it's too late. And he says, we'll see. I get a call a week later, and he says, the manager, Pee Wee Monty, says, we would like you to join. There's a first trumpet position open. When are you available? And I said, well, I've got another tour to do. And he says, when you get back, we would like you to join the band. So now you got to realize something, that all these years you build this thing up in your mind, you think, what if I do it and I don't make it?
Yeah.
You know? And I thought, God, this is what I've always wanted to do. And Gina, my great wife, says, I'm going to tell you something. If you don't do it, you'll always wonder. And if you fail, you know that you failed. That's it. But I don't think you will. Well, I went. And of course, I stayed with the band the first time for, I don't know, a little over a year and a half or something. And of course, every night sitting there, man, with Harry and the great Sonny Payne and Red Kelly, and Jack Brucifer and Corky Corcoran and Ray Sims and Joe Riggs. It was like you wanted to pinch yourself every night, because it didn't get any better. It couldn't have been any better musically. And, like the Tony Scottwells and all these great guys, trumpet players that play with Harry, they say the same thing. There was never, ever an experience like being a trumpet player, playing with Harry. I'm going to tell you. And I got to know him. And I knew him socially because he was a great sports follower, and he loved Bill Muncey.
Oh.
And Bill Muncey, the great hydroplane driver of all times, unlimited driver, was my dear friend. In fact, he was an incredible musician. He conducted for Gina when I went with Harry. And so Bill would come by and see me. And of course, he would end up in Harry's dressing room talking about sports and all this stuff. And so I was on a different level with Harry James. So when I left, the reason I left the band was one night I was sitting there and we were working with Phil Harris, who we both knew well and worked with. And I was analyzing the band, and everybody was divorced or separated.
Oh, wow.
Except one guy.
You.
Me.
Wow.
And I said, I think it's about time I come home. Harry helped me buy my house on Mercer Island, my first home. I had a 2-year-old son, my young son, HB. And I thought, maybe it's time. And I went over and I called Gina, which I called her after every show. And I said, I think I'm going to leave the band. Complete silence. And of course, she's working all the time.
Sure.
And she says, why would you want to leave the job of your life and of your dreams? Why would you want to do that? And I said, well, I just think it's time to come home. And she says, let me tell you something. Don't you ever bring up to me that I made you leave that band and leave Harry James. That's your decision. Don't you ever bring that up to me. And you make your own decision. And that was it. I came home. I went back to the band, help them out 2 or 3 times. It used to be funny. Harry'd be playing, and he'd lean down at Corky while he's through in between the courses. Said, get a hold of Fred and see if he can come out and help us out for a few days. And I'd go out, and of course, I'd always make room for it. And I had a great experience. And then I left the band. I started the jazz department at North Seattle Community College at that time, and now it's North Seattle College, which I'm going back to. I've left the University of Washington.
Oh,
and
wow.
we're going to start there in January with a great booming jazz program, and
fantastic.
it's going to be
news.
Exciting. It's going to be very
Yeah.
exciting. Gina's there, of course, and and plus the Harry James Band. When I had the offer to do that with Joe Graydon in 1989, I've had the band since 1989. We're working, starting to talk about a tour again that we've had to cancel. We're starting about a tour in April and May, and if not, we'll push it out. The band is still very much working. We're one of the very few great big bands, and we're very fortunate. And Mike Magnelli, who you know, my manager, is one of the best guys. And what else could I ask for?
No kidding. Well, listen, Stephanie Porter and Steve YUSEN, who were on earlier, they both send their love and say hey.
Oh yeah, they're the best. Yeah, Steve is an old compadre of mine. 21 years at the Four Seasons Hotel.
That's unbelievable. My little brother David says hi.
Good, thank you. I remember David also. Of course.
Yes.
And we got to get back up the island with Terry and all those guys.
We do. We have, in fact, Carl and Marianne are watching the show as well. So,
good. Hello, Carl and Marianne. That's good to see you guys.
Those
That's
guys,
wonderful.
They tune in every
Great
Wednesday.
people.
Yeah, great people. We can't wait to.
Great housekeepers, man. They're innkeepers, not housekeepers.
Innkeepers.
Pardon, that was a slip.
Well, listen, I want to slip one more video in here while I still got you. You got a second?
Yeah, man.
All right, so we got another video here that is one of Fred mine's favorite. It's called The Blues Walk. Check it out.
Oh, yeah.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
Beautiful, Fred. Beautiful. Hey,
Thank
Ellington
you, man.
wants to say hi to you, by the way.
Hey,
Uncle
Alex,
Fred.
how are you, man? Cool. Whoa.
Hold on. Yeah, he likes Uncle Fred's trumpet playing.
How old is he?
Ellington's going to be 4 here in about a couple weeks, believe it or not.
Well, you know, we lost our little Maltese, Clifford Brown, about
Did
a year
you?
ago, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, man. They're great. Oh, Ellington, what's happening, baby?
Yeah, man, he's just
Look
hanging
at
out,
him. Ah, man.
chilling with
Yeah.
Dad.
Yeah, cool. Very cool. All right.
Hey, listen, Fred, I can't thank you enough for
Yeah.
joining us today, and we got to do some more tunes, man.
Absolutely. Give my best to everybody. You guys stay safe.
I will.
Well,
We send our
right.
best to you and Gina
Yeah.
and everybody else.
Yeah. Okay, man.
All right.
Thanks.
Talk to you soon.
Later.
Bye-bye. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, the great Fred Radke there, man. What a treat, what a treat, what a treat. Also, I forgot to tell you guys, our cigar of the day is if you can see it here, it's a wonderful Dav number 3 anniversario that was sent to me courtesy of my dear friend Naboisha and his brand new bride Morgana. Thank you guys so much for this. And I put the puppy down here. And it's great. We're going to light this one up a little bit later. And we're going to... hey, Sarah, thank you so much. So next week, we are going to have on the show the one and only Jim Pugh, the greatest B3 player on the planet as far as I'm concerned. So we're going to have him. We've got some more special guests that we are trying to sign contracts to. Not really. We're just trying to line them up. And we've got some wonderful ones coming up here in the future. I want to do a big shout out, of course, to the lovely Miss Sony for running our show today and keeping everything moving. A big shout out to Benedetto Guitars. And of course, big shout out to Stephanie Porter, Steve YUSEN, Fred Radke, the ubiquitous Terry Miller, and of course, the one and only Andy Frager Jr. for all their musical talent, help, and support. And I hope all of you guys have a wonderful week this week. I hope that you're kind to each other. I hope that good things come to you. And remember, when things are getting a little rough, a little tight, doesn't feel just like it's supposed to be, remember to keep it swinging. Take care.